Hello everyone, welcome to my tips for Oaks Day. Hopefully we can bounce back off what was a disappointing Melbourne Cup day 0 from 10 with about 6 placings. It's the third day of a 4-day carnival, the Flemington Carnival, so let's get straight on and find, hopefully, the winners. Race number 1 is the Ottawa Stakes at Group 3 level for the 2-year-old fillies over the 1,000 metres. Tough race to start the day because they're basically all first starters, but I've ended up settling with Anisa for the Peter Moody and Catherine Coleman team, sired by Exceed and Excel, who's a successful sprinting sire out of the very good racehorse in Sweet Sherry. So good breeding. This horse draws gate 1, so we'll find the fence easily, which is beneficial for 2-year-olds. Lugging bit for the first time also helps to get it down the straight in a straight line, and the common nose roll for the Peter Moody team. I like this horse because Damien Lane doesn't usually ride for Moody and Coleman, and he's jumped on this thing, so I think they've had a word and it's a pretty good horse. But I think it's out of the top 2. Harper Lee in for second. Ben Will and J.D. Hayes, Lindsay Park have got their 2-year-olds absolutely firing this season and last season, so this horse can easily win. Was a good jump out. Gate 5, it deserves to be in the numbers. Highest Yugi was good, running second behind Bold Bastille in the English Banner on debut. It can improve, draws 7 with Benny Mellum. And Arabian Summer, just built for speed, ran second to Coleman last start in the Debutant Stakes. But I'm with Anisa just ahead of Harper Lee in the Ottawa Stakes, race number 1. Race number 2 is a 3 and 4-year-olds benchmark 70 over the 1,700 metres for the fillies and mares, and I've ended up settling with, well, I like my top 2, but Fancify on top. This horse coming over from South Australia, trained by Michael Hickmott, was good last start behind Jenkins in a 1 Metro win race. Before that was a benchmark 70 winner by 4 lengths on the Morphettville Parks track. Obviously this is a step up in grade from Morphettville, but James McDonald rides. How often does he ride for South Australian trainers? Not often. This horse draws 2. It's an on-speed horse. We'll get into a good position, and I think is the one to beat. Fearless Rider in for a really close second. This horse has been running some good races behind Belt Hill and Lady Jones last start. Blake Shin goes on, replacing Blake McDougall, so a jockey upgrade. Draws 5, so can get into an on-speed role. It's also hard to beat. Kip Yeagon, I think, is the value in the race. Was really good from the back at Ballarat last start behind Great Taste and Toys on Fire. That was with the 61 kilos. Drops down to 58. Draws 9. Will be on the outside of horses for Craig Newitt. It's over the odds. And then also Starry Ann, a good winner last start at Pakenham, beating Forbidden City, who came out and ran 3rd today in the Hong Kong Jockey Club Stakes behind Skew-If. So that's good form, but I like Fancify and Fearless Rider as winning chances in race number 2. Race 3 is a benchmark 80 over the 2,000 metres. Anything can win this race, but I've ended up settling with number 4 for Jeta San. This horse was good last start in the Coonji Cup from the back behind Miramasa and Diamil, running some really good sectionals late. That was with the 54 kilos. Now has to lump the 61, but is down in grade. 2 back, it was a good winner at Sandown in a benchmark 78, flying from last to win with Damien Oliver in the saddle. Damien Oliver's reunited with this horse at this start, and I think it's pretty classy. It can win. Shahuli I've got in for second. This horse trained by Greg Yerold to be ridden by Jamie Spencer. That's a noticeable booking. Ran behind Jeta San at Sandown, 2 back. Gets I think it's a 3 or 4 kilo weight swing on Jeta San from that performance, and it's fitter, so I think Shahuli can run well. In for third, I've got Daiquiri. This horse was good behind Shock 'em Over and Hennessy Lad last start at Caulfield with Blake Shin in the saddle. Now gets J-Mac on, draws 3, will be in a prominent position and can run well. And if this horse gets a run, the 4th Emergency, My Brother's Keeper, can run a bit of a race. I think it's a classy horse, draws well, but will need the run. Need to get a run if it's to be any chance. But I'm with Jeta San in race number 3. Race number 4 is the English Bracelet for the fillies and mares over the 1,600 metres. A lot of fillies and mares races on Thursday, and I've ended up with Climbing Star. I think Philip Stokes has a really good opinion of this horse. Ran it against the boys last start in the Moonga Stakes when he could have run it against the fillies and mares in the Tristark, but has opted to run it in the Moonga and did. And it only finished 1.25 lengths behind Buffalo River, doing some really good work late. Hopefully that run hasn't flattened it, because Buffalo River did go along at a pretty solid clip there. Also beat home Cause for Concern, who won on Derby Day. I think this horse now, 56 kilos, lightweight, gate 3, on speed, Craig Williams. I think it's ready to win and the one to beat. Roots in for second. won this race last year with a 56 kilos, now has to carry the 59.5, so will need to improve again, but deserves to because it's a good horse. Draws 8, will be flying from the back. Foxy Freedom in for third. How flattened would this horse be? Ran in the Empire Rose on Saturday behind Pride of Jenny, having to do a lot of work from the back. If it's right, they'll run it, and if it runs, I reckon it runs well. Billy Egan in the saddle. And Matron Bullwinkle in for fourth. Was doing some okay work late behind Mac 2 last start at Caulfield, but I like Climbing Star in the English Bracelet. Race 5 is the Sentry Stakes at listed level over the 1,000 metres, and I'm with Najem Sahel here. This horse is on the 5-day backup off when it went at a frantic tempo up front into the wind over 1,200 metres, being beaten by Spacewalk in the Rising Fast. I think now Damien Lane on Big Plus. Gate 9 will be in the right part of the track, back to 1,000 metres. I reckon this horse will win if it runs. Generation in for second. I'm thinking if Najem Sahel gets scratched, it hasn't backed up well enough, and I think that form is dead if Najem Sahel gets scratched. So I want to be with Generation if Najem Sahel is scratched. This horse draws 2, the wrong part of the straight, but was good over the 1,000 metres in the Caulfield Sprint last start behind Duel and Spacewalk, and gets a little bit of a weight swing on Spacewalk, which helps it as well. Third is Spacewalk, gets a weight rise to 58.5 kilos, which isn't great, but J-Mac goes on. Don't know what happened to Jamie Carr or why she's jumped off. Draws 8, the right part of the straight, and it's a last start winner, so can't be knocked. And Cannonball, a very classy horse, but first up, some other horses might have a fitness edge over it, but I'm pretty keen on Najem Sahel in the Sentry Stakes. Race 6 is the Melbourne Cup Carnival Country Final at benchmark 80 level over the 1,600 metres. I've ended up settling on Lady Jones. This horse was a good winner last start at Sale. Before that was first up at Caulfield behind Belt Hill and did some really good work through the line to only be beaten 0.3 lengths there. Now gets down to the 54.5 kilos, the lightweight, draws 3, will be in a non-speed roll, and I think it's hard to beat. Also, it could have gone in a race against its own sex earlier in the day, but Stephen Brown, the trainers, opted to come here instead against the boys, which I think is noticeable, and I'm happy to have it on top. In for second, I think Red Phantom is the value of the race. Should roll forward from gate 10. Only won at Horsham last start, but before that started the favourite in a benchmark 78 at Sandown behind Wycliffe and Flossing. I think the market's missed that horse. The favourite, Euphoric, gets the Melbourne Cup winning jockey Mark Zara on. This horse won at Geelong last start pretty well. Only just beat Rogue Rocker, so that horse has got to be worth something as well. And in for fourth, as I was just trying to remember who I had in for fourth, Von Hawk will go forward and prove hard to run down. But I like Lady Jones in race number 6. Flemington race 7 is the Red Roses Stakes for the 3-year-old fillies at Group 3 level over the 1,100 metres, and I like Appen Girl here. Gets the Melbourne Cup winning jockey Mark Zara on. I thought this horse needed the run first up at Caulfield behind Shiva. Was doing some okay work through the line there. Drops back in distance though, but draws the right part of the straight in gate 14. This horse has had a really kind SP profile. It started favourite in every one of its starts in its career, and as I said, needed the run first up. It was scratched from a race, I think, on at Flemington. I can't remember what day it was. I think it was mid-September, and it had to wait 4 weeks to run in the Caulfield race, so I think it was really fresh, and now it'll be fit as second up, and I think the market's missed it a bit. The market in the past thinks it's a superstar. Started favourite against a horse called Armed Forces, who's been tying in form lines with like Mahaba and Brave Mead this campaign. So I think Appen Girl is over the odds. Aditi is the other value play in the race. This horse drops back to the 1,100 metres from 1,400 last start in the Reg Allen, where it contested against Arctic Glamour. Back in class, back in distance. Tim Clark on a Waterhouse spot front runner. Draws 16, the right part of the straight. $27 is over the odds. Soltaire in for third. This horse probably should have beaten Gumdrops last start in the Crockett Stakes on Cox Plate Day. Draws 5. Blake Shinnon can settle closer. That horse can easily win as well. And in for fourth, Excess. Lofty Strike's full sister. This horse was good behind Shiva last start, and has to be considered as it ran in the same race as Appen Girl did last start. Will go probably to the lead and prove hard to run down back in distance, but I think Appen Girl and Aditi are the two over the odds in race 7. Race 8 is the feature. It's the Group 1 Victorian Oaks over the 2,500 metres for the 3-year-old fillies, and they're going to have to improve a lot to beat Zardozi here. This horse closed off exceptionally well behind Amazonian Lass on Derby Day, and it would have won in an extra 50 metres. James McDonald sticks, draws 6, can be around midfield or so. I think this horse will win. Harlow missed him for second, ran third behind Amazonian Lass and Zardozi on Derby Day, draws 9, Michael D goes on, it's a good chance. In for third I've got Ethel Fled. I was all over this horse on Saturday and it did some really good work from the back. Step up to 2,500 metres suits, and Mark Zara on is a good booking. It's got to go in there, and also Amazonian Lass, just because it beat Zardozi last start. Don't know about the 2,500 metres, but who knows with Waterhouse front runners. I like Zardozi in the feature. To round out the day, race number 9 is a benchmark 90 over the 1,800 metres, and I think Gregolimo deserves favouritism and is the one to beat here. Was good in the Coonji Cup last start behind Miramasa and Dyer Mill, only finishing a length off Miramasa. Back in class now, third up, fitter. Blake Shin on, draws gate 6, will be on speed. This horse deserves to be favourite. If it gets scratched, then it's anyone's race, because I don't really want Holy Man's, but I've put it in for second. Tim Clark doesn't usually ride for Mar Eustace, so I think that's a noticeable jockey booking. Was good behind I Know a Star last start at the Kensington track, so has got to be considered. Premise in for third. This horse was good from the back in the Angst Stakes last start behind Renaissance Woman and Osbred Flirt. Draws 14, so not ideal, but Craig Williams on is and gets the blinkers for the first time. It can run well. And Soprano Supreme. Mark Walker wouldn't bring this horse over if it didn't have a little bit of ability. Has been running in some decent races in New Zealand. Michael D on 54 kilos, draws gate 4. I think it's a tad over the odds at $41, but Gregolimo in the last for me. Thanks everyone for watching my Oaks Day preview. Hopefully I've tipped you into a few winners, and we'll do it all again for Champions Day on Saturday.